Hello, how are we? Welcome to the Brecon Beacons. Actually, just on the edge of the Brecon Beacons. I'm about 20 minutes from Swansea, so not far. And I've come to test this fella. This is the iPhone 13, specifically the Pro Max, specifically 256 gig version. So just so you know. Now, I got this camera, this phone, purely because of the camera upgrades. I'm super excited about the capabilities of this bad boy, and I'm here today to test, see if it's actually any good for landscape photography, because I've had it for about a week. I've shot absolutely loads of photographs of my son and the family and just day to day. I've even done a few commercial shoots. I've rocked up to to do some commercial photography for clients, and they want social media pictures while I'm there. So I've been running around with the phone, and I've been shooting raw, and they've absolutely loved the pictures, and I've absolutely loved the pictures. And I'm thinking, hang on a minute, how long before am I actually going to lose use of an actual camera? Is the iPhone going to replace everything there? So yeah, I've got it today on this little mount on my tripod, and we're gonna give it beans. We're gonna go down to the waterfalls up here and see if we can do some landscape photography with a flipping iPhone. Can you imagine? Now these shoot raw now, so that was the reason I got this. Now I come from an iPhone 8, which was pretty much a terrible camera. I didn't buy that, bought it as a phone, but now the technology is actually here. We can use cameras as phones as cameras even. So let me just talk to you a few things. If you've got headphones that come with the camera, with the phone, I'm used to talking about cameras, you can use the cable button, the volume button in camera mode as a cable release. So we're going to be photographing waterfalls now, so that's going to be really handy for that, because it means I haven't got to touch the camera to take a photograph. You get the point, yeah. I've got my metal phone holder. I'll put details to this, whatever it is, in Amazon Jobby in the description below. So if you want to have a look at that. I've also bought an ND filter and a polarizer. Now the ND filter and polarizer is fantastic. It's only a tenner, cheapy thing, or 20 quid it was off Amazon. But because these lenses are massive, you see the size of them? Because they're massive, the wide angle on the polarizer and on the ND is barely unusable because it vignettes massively. So I haven't seen, at point of recording this, I haven't seen a clip-on filter and lens capable for the iPhone 13 new lens system, because they're much bigger than the old one. So the wide version is vignetted. So we know we're not going to really be able to use the wide angle lens today, but we'll try anyway. So yeah, that obviously means then you can't stack a polarizer and an ND filter. 12 megapixel cameras, still 12 megapixel. I think it's something to do with being able to get a better low light image than if they made it 24 or 100 megapixel like some phones. RAW files are huge. They are 3000 by 4000 pixels, and they actually go up to 42 meg. I'm going to take this off here. I've actually taken some photographs and I've looked at the raw files, and they go between 18 meg to 42 meg. Now I think that's something to do with the ISO of the file. So the higher the ISO, the bigger the raw file. I don't know, but that's what I think. But I've got photographs on here that are 42 meg. So if you're going to use this phone, for photography in RAW all the time, you need to be aware that it's going to eat the crap out of your memory, because that's a potentially 42 meg per photograph. Right then, lenses. The lenses, we're doing this quickly. Lenses are a 26 millimeter 1.5 with iOS, sensor shift iOS. Ultra wide is a 13 mm 1.8 without iOS, so no image stabilization, and the tele is a 3 times up from the 2 times on the iPhone 12. 77 millimeter equivalent full frame 2.8 with iOS, so that's amazing. So you get image stabilization and bigger sensors behind the lenses on the middle one. So basically, out of the 3 lenses, you've got the tele, the wide, and the ultra wide. The wide is a bigger sensor, so you'll get better res, better image quality out of that thing. But I haven't really noticing it yet. But the tele and ultra wide have smaller sensors is the easiest way of remembering that. Notes to mention: you need to download apps for manual exposure, because the stupid Apple phone camera app doesn't let you control the RAW settings, which is absolutely abysmal, because this thing shoots amazing RAW, so why can't you control them? It's a fixed aperture lens. So yeah, I'll put a link to the apps that I've downloaded. I've downloaded 4, and so far there's trade-offs with all 4. So there's the Moment one, there's the Pro camera one, there's another one. But there seems to be a trade-off for all of them, so you have to bear in mind. Sorry if you can hear that waterfall just there. Okay, it's a fixed lens, fixed aperture, so you can only change your ISO and you can only change the shutter speed That's why you need a variable ND or an ND filter to bring that because obviously if you can't change your aperture to get more depth of field or to let less light in, you're obviously going to have to use an ND filter or something like that if you need to maintain a certain shutter speed, like video, or like we're going to go and photograph the waterfalls up there. I don't know what I'm pointing up there for. You can't see what's up there. Can't film up there though, it's too loud. Right, the 3 times lens is fantastic. It's 2.8 and it's amazing for portraits. The raw files seem really sharp and optically great. I've found no issues whatsoever. I'm really loving the raw files off it. They are tack sharp and absolutely printable. If you want to print 8x10s off it, you're going to have no issues. You have to remember though, it's 12 megapixel, don't crop. Try and avoid cropping. But what would be worth giving a go is this upscale facility in Photoshop. So because they're DNG files, you can whack them in Photoshop. I think Lightroom does it as well, and you can upscale the photograph. So I'm going to give that a test as well, see if you can actually upscale these photographs to potentially get to about 20x30. Wouldn't that be amazing from an iPhone? So yeah, that would be awesome. You need to bracket. Don't rely on the DNG on the raw files for dynamic range. You need to bracket. Okay, the dynamic range still isn't there. The sensors are minute. Okay, you're not going to get dynamic range out of a sensor that small. So it's basically the crop sensor versus full frame. You get better dynamic range and all that sort of thing. So just bear that in mind. The sensors are flipping tiny. So yeah, just going to have to bracket or be aware of what your shadows and your highlights are doing. Auto lens switching is a nightmare. So Apple, if you're watching this, yeah, right, sort it out. If I go really close to something, it automatically tries to switch to macro. So if I'm trying to blur something in the foreground and then put the camera there to shoot through it, it switches to macro and then it uses a different lens and then tries to focus on what you're trying to blur in the foreground, and there's no way to override it at the time of making this. It's really friggin' annoying because I love shooting through things and blurring stuff, and I do it with my clients' stuff all the time. It's really annoying. It's a difficult thing to you have to sort of AF lock it and then just, I don't know, yeah, it's a difficult thing to do. I'm sure they'll turn, that'll be in a firmware update, I'm sure. I'm hoping. Right, now last night, I went out to do some low light photography and to try the night mode basically on this thing. Didn't work. I'm pissed off actually. I wasn't going to mention it in the video, but I'm flipping out. Right? I went all the way down to this castle, really nice place for shooting astrophotography, and I got there and the damn thing wouldn't shoot longer than a 10-second exposure in RAW. Now, if anybody can tell me that this is user error, fantastic. I'll take that on the chin. If it's user error, brilliant, because it means that I can use this to do some night photography. Not that you would, but you know, it'd be a bit of it would have been fun. And I got there and I drove all that way, and I went to several places that were really dark, and I couldn't get it to shoot past flipping 10 seconds. I did once. I tell you, I did once. It wouldn't do it again. It went to 10 seconds every time, but it wouldn't go more than 10 seconds. I think I managed to get one photograph that was 30 seconds. I couldn't get it to do it again. The metadata says it was 30 seconds, but then when I lifted the shadows or whatever to edit the Milky Way, it looks absolute crap anyway. So if anybody can tell me what I did wrong there, obviously shooting ProRes RAW, obviously doing all the basic stuff that you'd expect. I tried all the lenses. I tried the wide, the ultra wide, and the tele. Nothing. I mean, these are amazing for composing shots. So one of the reasons I got this is because it's got a wide, it's got a mid zoom, it's got a tele on it, and I can use my phone to compose shots before I get the camera out, the Fuji, which I'm filming on, or the Nikon, which I've got with me, and then I can use the phone to find my composition, and it's really cool. So yeah, really good for that. So I'm looking forward to being able to use especially the wide angle lens. Amazing, really handy. Good for social media pictures as well, eh? Portrait mode. Portrait mode is amazing. I've got some of my favourite photographs straight away off my son. The day I got this camera, I got some really cool shots of him playing, and it's the phone you've always got with you. So if you've got kids and stuff, it's just amazing. So I've got some really cool shots. The background blur is stunning. If you put it in portrait mode, you can change the background blur. It's absolutely incredible. Really impressive. However, depending on what lens you're using, it's constantly telling you you've got to get closer to the subject. And also it blurs the background. My son was sitting by a wall which wasn't even a foot behind him. It blurred that background, but it wouldn't blur the rock that was in front of me about 1.5 meters away from him. So obviously you could do that in Photoshop, dead easy, but weird. Right, so that didn't really work. Yeah, but it keeps saying you've got to move closer. It's absolutely fantastic. It doesn't find the face very well. It's just, you've got to be really close for it to find the face, and I think that the algorithm needs improving there, but it is very good. Tones, you're getting tones out of a camera, out of a phone camera, tones out of a RAW file. It's unbelievable. It's almost like shooting with a proper camera. I'm really impressed with the tones that you get out of this thing. I really am. It's amazing. But just remember, with the camera, you can actually tell it to remember your last settings. So if you want to use the camera every time you switch it on to shoot RAW, you can go into the settings, you can tell it to remember your last settings, and every time you go take a photo of it, be RAW. But then bearing in mind, it's going to eat the crap out of your memory because it's, say, 40 mega file, and if you've only got 228 gig camera, then it's going to absolutely ram the crap out of your memory. So just bear that in mind. Anyway, that said, let's go and take a damn photograph because, yeah, there's some amazing light going on over there and we're missing it. I bet you can't hear me. It's smart, isn't it? Really, really gorgeous place. That 10-minute walk from the car as well, absolutely gorgeous. Look at these. That's the holder. That cool. The size. That little thing. How cool is that? That's tiny. 37mm. Oh. So this is the ND which I'm putting on the front of the camera now, and I'm going to walk around and do some recce shots, see if I can find. I've shot here loads, so I know one of the shots, but I'm going to try and use the phone to see if I can find some other compositions. And of course I will make all these raw files downloadable, so if you want to grab them and have a look, you can have a look in the description down there and nick the files and have a play with them. But yeah, it's going to be fun if I don't fall in. I always fall in these waterfalls every friggin' time. If anybody can explain this to me, because on the time of taking these photographs earlier today, I thought I got the histogram and everything as close to perfect. I thought I was getting a live preview, so I was whizzy-wigging like you would on a mirrorless camera or whatever. So you know, you can see the exposure, you can see what's going on, you can see if anything's clipping, you can see what's going on, or you can see any mistakes basically. Well, I've taken the photographs off the mobile phone into Lightroom, and you won't believe this, they look like this. That's on the left how they come into Lightroom, pitch black. So I don't understand what's going on here. But if you, if I go back to the edited version, that's the same photograph edited. If you look over on the top right-hand corner, you've got this Apple Pro RAW, which is a profile. If I drop that down, it's pitch black. And if I lift it up, it's you know, tad overexposed, but it's there. It's fine. Now, obviously, I've done a bit of editing just to drop the highlights, just retain the water and stuff like that. Well, what the heck's that? If anybody knows what, I mean, I'm coming from an iPhone 8, so if you're watching this and you're an iPhone 12 Pro Max user, you'll know, maybe you know what this is. I haven't got a flipping clue. But what's Apple Pro RAW doing? Why did the files, the video footage, when I brought that into Final Cut and bring that to Lightroom, Final Cut to edit that looked crazy as well. You have to do some random editing. I think it's because it's HDR or something. You have to do some random editing to get that right. But I've never seen. This almost looks like there's no loss of I mean, download the files yourself, have a play, and let me know if I'm just some sort of idiot and I haven't seen some. I don't know what's going on. I just can't work it out. But it's almost like this is a fully invariant sensor, because I'm brightening this up from a massively underexposed. That's about 3 or 4 stops underexposed, maybe even more. I'm brightening that up to there, and there's no loss of quality whatsoever. Absolutely bonkers. So when I brought all my files into Adobe Bridge to look at them to see which ones I was going to edit, they're all pitch black. I was like, what's going on here? I've never seen anything like it. So if you know what's going on with that, let me know. I've never seen anything like it. Apple Pro RAW. Download them, have a play, see what you think. That aside, if anybody can let me know what I did wrong with my Astro shots, I don't know what's going on. I'll see if I can add one of them for you to download as well. It wouldn't go past, I've just tried again, it won't go past 10 seconds. Now, if you're, I said in the video that the dynamic range is going to be crap on these things because of the small sensor. Now, clearly I'm wrong. Just, I don't know what this is, but clearly I'm wrong. It doesn't seem to affect the quality. I don't know. Have a look at myself. Yeah. Now, if you're trying to get exposure brackets like I was, don't bother trying to use the camera. Just use an ND. If you can use an ND to slow the exposure down, it's so much easier, because I found in the manual exposures I was using, I found it so difficult to get an exposure bracketed shot that was looking like it was working. I just found it easier just to turn the dial on the ND thing. But if you're going to use that, if you're going to use an ND filter, that's definitely the way forward. Vignettes obviously due to the thingy, but to be honest with you, I thought it was going to be worse. When I seen them on the back of the phone, I was thinking, what? These vignettes, this is on the widest, and that's no crop. That's straight out of camera, no crop. So perfect in camera with almost, I mean, you can Photoshop them corners out, but that looks fantastic. So yeah, if I can get a bigger clip to go on the front, it'd have to be big though, wouldn't it? Because it would have to be flipping massive. I'll keep an eye out for one though. The histogram in that raw software pro camera was next to useless. So was the highlight alert. So was the focus zebra thingy, focus peaking. It literally just did not seem to work for me at all. I was doing it all by eye, and that's why I was using the ND, just to take several shots at different exposures, because I just couldn't see when the histogram just didn't seem reliable, didn't seem accurate at all. So yeah, next to useless. And again, I couldn't tell if I was in focus. Now, I did mention in the video that because the sensor's so small, the depth of field is going to be enormous. Now, in these photographs, I was focusing on the middle rock because I kind of felt that it was going to be... I did focus stack a few as well, so you can download them and have a look. But you don't need to focus stack them because the sensor, I don't say 1.8 or 1.8, but it's flipping nuts. The depth of field is insane, and I'm really close to these rocks in the foreground as well, so it's absolutely bonkers. So yeah, really good way of obviously finding a composition. You can use your phone just to try and look for shots as opposed to knowing what lens to put on your camera. So I did manage to find a few shots which I took on the Nikon. I'll show you them at the end of the video. Thanks to the iPhone for that, because I hadn't seen those compositions when I'd been there before. I also took a few photographs zoomed in at the waterfall, just experimenting with different shutter speeds just to see how accurate, I guess, I was expecting a shutter speed to look in the images, and it's like a camera. It's a flipping camera. It's bonkers. Anyway, I'll leave it there. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was useful for you, and if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. Let me know of any of my dilemmas, if you can solve particularly the Astro one. I'd like to know what I'm doing it wrong there, and if anybody could shed some light on this damn Pro Raw. I don't know what's going on with that, but yeah, till next time, thanks for watching guys. I'll see you soon.